And Oklahoma has held on to beat Pittsburgh 96-93. You folks on the West Coast, you got another game coming up, but you see the dismay of Paul Evans as his team had 2 chances from three-point range to tie this game in the closing seconds. Jerome Lane shot at the buzzer, was off the back of the rim, and Billy Tubbs and his team heading to Seattle. And that's a good ball club. Again, it's the only one this year to beat top-ranked UNLV. But Pittsburgh, that talented bunch, is heading home after getting knocked off today by Oklahoma out in Tucson. Here was the final segment of plays. A 3-point deficit at this point. Demetrius Gore tried to tie it up. And you'll see Jerome Lane, the leading rebounder in the nation this year, get the rebound. He knows he has to hit the 3, takes it back out, and he misses the game-tying opportunity there for the Panthers. And Oklahoma runs off with a victory, 96-93. So what a ball game out there in Tucson. Another one coming up, Iowa against UTEP. But Pittsburgh and Oklahoma, we've been keeping our eye on that one all day, James. And this Oklahoma team, we said it on Friday night against Tulsa that they're capable of pulling something like this off. As well as Oklahoma plays on TV, Coach Billy Tubbs ought to have a mobile van parked outside of his arena every game next year. They do extremely well. Video Johnson and crew. All right, it's been a good day so far for the Big 8. Kansas won. Now Oklahoma advances on to the round of the Sweet 16. And really to shape things up also, the SEC has 3 teams in the round of 16 after LSU and Florida pulled surprises today. They'll join Alabama in the round of 16. Also there with 3 teams. Well, the Big Ten has not been a story like some had thought. The Big Ten has 1 team in there right now. That's Indiana. And, of course, Iowa coming up. But what do you think of this tournament so far, James? Jimmy, you talk about the Big Ten losing a few teams out of it right now. I think speed and quickness will pay dividends to those teams that do possess it, along, of course, with good coaching and defense, but speed will win out every time, I think, over power. All right, let's set the record straight again. 3 from the SEC, 3 from the Big East are in the round of 16. You got the 2 ACC teams, North Carolina and Duke. All right, we're going to get you caught up on what's been going on today and all the sports news in just a moment. All right, still to come, you're going to see UTEP out of the Western Athletic Conference against Iowa from the Big Ten. All right, one of the best games of the day was DePaul against St. John's. It looked like it was going to be a runaway early because DePaul had a 14-point lead, but the Redmen came storming back and actually took the lead by 5 in regulation, only to see DePaul send this game into overtime. Let's take a look at some of the action now from Chicago today. The Blue Demons trying to move on. And this is a team that's had a lot of hard luck in the tournament in its history. This is Rod Strickland, and how about that move off the glass? Louis Carnesecca looking on, and now he'll watch his team come back. Mark Jackson hits the three-pointer to even things at 57. Shelton Jones scores on the pass from Jackson. Jones would actually miss a crucial layup in regulation that may have sealed it. But Joey Meyer watched as they needed the missed free throw from Comegis and the bucket from Strickland to tie it and send it to OT. In the extra session, Comegis scores from the baseline, and DePaul got the early advantage, and things just seemed to mount for the Blue Demons, and they go on to win it 83-75. And next up for Joey Meyer and company will be LSU. A plus that Dallas Comegis came through down the stretch for DePaul like they did, because St. John's had gotten that game into a half-court game, which is, of course, what Louis Carnesecca prefers. You know, a lot of folks say the formula you need in college basketball is a big man and a good point guard. But you got Rod Strickland there. You got Dallas Comegis for DePaul. All right, the SEC continues to do well, of course, in the Midwest. They beat Temple today, LSU. LSU was a winner today over Temple. Temple, the number 2 seed in that region. And John Chaney, been a great season for Temple. And let's talk about that game, Not a bad game indeed. As a matter of fact, it was expected to be a tactical matchup. LSU is representing the SEC well in this tournament. And the Wilson duo, Anthony and Nikita, scored a combined 37 points. Nikita on the score here for a 4-point halftime lead. John Chaney had to go deep in the tactical bag. Nikita Wilson still on fire in the second half and puts LSU up by 10 points. Then Temple's Mike Vrieswijk had 6 3-pointers trying to bring Temple back, this one coming from off the pick. Dale Brown, of course, exhorting his troops on. Darryl Joe, that is, off the bench, nailing that shot. That gave LSU the lead, and Dale Brown's team is rolling.
In the first half, we didn't play really that good defense, but the second half, we came out and played some real hard defense on Blackman and on Perry. And in the first half, our offense kept us going, but the second half, our defense did it for us.
You know, every year at tournament time, you see the LSU roster and you see the laundry list of guys who are out with injury or academic reasons. It happened last year. LSU was the 11th seed, went on to the Final Four. This year, the Tigers, 10th seeded in the Midwest, and they're now in the Final Four of that regional. Against DePaul, they will play in Chicago, and that game taking place on Friday night. The other two teams still alive in the Midwest, Indiana and Duke. All right, we're going to get you caught up on more highlights from today when we continue in just a moment. All right, coming up from Tucson, it's going to be UTEP against Iowa. Don Haskins, the Bear, the coach at UTEP, going against Dr. Tom Davis and company of the Hawkeyes. How about that game?
Personally, believe that Iowa's got a little too much talent. They go deep on the bench, Dr. Tom Davis, that is. They play good full-court pressure defense. It's going to be key for UTEP's guards to handle the pressure of Iowa and to try to penetrate and get a half-court game if they expect to have a chance in this one. All
right, James, let's tell everyone about the Syracuse game today. Syracuse against Western Kentucky. The Orangemen win it 104-86, the sixth time in this tournament so far. A team has scored at least 100 points. The Hilltoppers came in, though, on top of the world after winning over West Virginia on Friday. But this is some of the action first half. You see the setup there. Douglas to Cycli, and Cycli jams it home. Brian Asbury has the nice hanging reverse layup here for the Hilltoppers. And Howard Trish, one of the few seniors on the Orangemen, will finally get a hold of it and score here. Orangemen led 42-40 at halftime. Second half, well, Syracuse opened up a big lead. Back came Western Kentucky, but then Syracuse put it away. Here you see the block, then the turnover. Monroe will pick it up, shoot the three eventually, and Syracuse finally pulled away. Killed the reputation of being a team with no killer instinct. Syracuse goes on to win it 104-86 over Western Kentucky. And of course, the argument about playing at home. Syracuse played at the Carrier Dome. DePaul also won today at home.
Well, it had to be a little bit of a plus for both teams, but as hot and cold as Syracuse has been all year, this close victory, or rather that big victory in the second half, ought to be a confidence booster going deeper into the NCAA round. Sherman Douglas, a great backcourt guard. Hopefully he can get the rest of the players to play, under pressure real nice.
All right, James, we talked about that big man, small man combo. Ronnie Cycli and Sherman Douglas is that combo for the Orangemen, and Sherman Douglas talked after the game.
A jubilant Sherman Douglas, 27 points. You ran the show. Great effort.
Yeah, it was a great effort for us and a team effort. We're just glad to get around from the second round because it's been kind of like a monkey on our back for a couple of years, and it's just nice for the teams and for the fans to go to Meadowlands and prove to Syracuse fans that we are winners.
You two, the team and the coaches, have an interesting theory. You guys like to play man-to-man. Jimmy and Bernie like to play in the zone.
Yes, we really like to play man-to-man so we can get to an up-tempo place and just go up the court and run and to show our talent. But Coach kind of conservative. He likes to play zone, and we just have to go with it.
Who's been teaching Derek Brower how to shoot free throws?
Well, we've been shooting a lot of free throws in practice because we're really not a good free throw shooting team, and he's been trying, and it's just not been going in for him.
Were you surprised they did it to Cycli as well?
I was kind of surprised, but I knew they was going to do it to our worst free throw shooter, and they did it to Cycli, and Cycli hit a couple of them.
Congratulations, Sherman. Good luck next weekend.
All right, that was Bill Raftery talking to Sherman Douglas after that victory, James, 104-86. At that point, after the Syracuse victory, all of the Big East teams had won. There had not been a loss by a Big East squad yet. Then St. John's lost in overtime, and Pittsburgh lost the heartbreaker. All right, earlier today at Syracuse, Florida and Purdue played. That was the first game at the East region. And Florida, boy, that's a team that's really looking good. Second in the SEC during the regular season. Today, the Gators put it together to win it 85-66. Vernon Maxwell inside to the big freshman. Shinsa scores the easy layup, and he was the game's MVP. 7-foot freshman he is. Everett Stevens lobs it to Todd Mitchell for the dunk. A lot of people like this Purdue team to go a long way, but today they are ousted. Here you see the Gators inside and going in and ahead by 17, 63-46. Vernon Maxwell gets the easy layup. The M&M boys looking good today. And Shinsis talked about his shooting ability to our Bill Raftery.
Used to him yet, and I'm afraid that if he goes out there and misses a couple, they'll start a petition around to get me fired for having a 7-footer shooting from outside. They say, "You big dummy, don't you know he belongs inside?" But he can stick them out there. So we're going to take advantage of all his talents in these next 3 years.
Of course, that was Norm Sloan, the coach of the Florida Gators, after that big win today. Florida and Syracuse now advance on to the Meadowlands, and we'll have that game for you on tape delay Thursday night at 11:30 Eastern Time. What do you think of that game, James?
That'll probably be as close a matchup as you'd want to find in the NCAA. Both teams are good speed, great backcourts, and a good big man in the middle. I think it's going to be an evenly matched game. Whichever backcourt handles the pressure and the defensive pressure a lot better will probably come out ahead.
All right, Norm Sloan excited because his big freshman Shinsis had 21 points, 4 rebounds, and the Gators win it by 19, the 6th seed in the East, moving on. Again, coming up next, it's going to be UTEP against Iowa. We'll return in just a moment and show you some of the road signs along the way on the road to the Final Four. The Miners of UTEP meet Iowa coming up next year on CBS. Now, as we continue rambling down the road to the Final Four, we meet a lot of interesting people. And as James reports in another of his road signs, one of the compelling stories in the Southeast region is a scrappy team from Providence, Rhode Island, and its inspirational floor leader, Billy the Kid Donovan.
As he has all year, yesterday, Billy Donovan showed why you don't have to be tall to have the right stuff. He overcame his pain to make it up from the floor and lead Providence to victory by scoring 25 points.
Well, it's my senior year, and it's been a great thrill for me to be in the NCAA tournament. I know the 4 seniors too, so we don't want it to end. We want to keep on going as far as we can.
Donovan's impact wasn't felt only in the scoring column. He was a force, a presence that Austin Peay just could not contend with. For Billy Donovan, winning is everything, but yesterday's game gave him a newfound respect for Austin Peay and the way they play.
They got just as much quickness as Georgetown. They're a great ball club. They really are.
If Austin Peay reminds people of Georgetown, I think you will hear more from them in the future. The school deserves some recognition. After all, not even the players know exactly where the school is located.
Well, when I first heard it, I thought about it was way out in Texas somewhere, and you know, it was a lot of rivers and stuff.
Not Texas, but Clarksville, Tennessee. The school has 5,000 students and one especially prophetic coach.
We're going to go do our best. If we should beat Illinois, then I think everybody in the country will know who we are.
They did beat Illinois, a Big Ten school, and scared Providence, a Big East school, to death. So while Austin Peay took losing and tournament elimination hard, they should be proud. And I venture to say that someday soon, every basketball fan will know just exactly who Austin Peay was.
Well, you know, Austin Peay used to be the governor back in 1927, and they named the school after this guy.
Well, Providence can certainly qualify as a Cinderella team so far in this tournament, but you have to really look at LSU and Wyoming, 10th and 12th seeded respectively coming into the tournament.
LSU only because they had so many problems that you alluded to before in terms of injuries during the season, but they've got an inspirational leader in Dale Brown, and he finds a way of pumping that squad up and making them believe that they can be giant killers. The more they do it, the more they'll believe it. On the other hand, Wyoming, I'm not so sure that they really ought to be classified as a Cinderella team. I did a game with them earlier this year when they played Louisville. Did an extremely good job. I think they have a balance between speed and strength.
Yeah, and the strength, of course, being Finis Dimbo. Boy, he's some player after 41 points yesterday against UCLA. Georgetown today, in the first game that was a final, the Hoyas beat Ohio State, and it really looked like the Buckeyes were going to win this game because they had a 15-point lead in the second half. 82-79 was the final in that game, and Georgetown, again, coming from way back to win it. That was in Southeast Region action in Atlanta, and Ohio State in the dark uniforms gets the outside shot from Dennis Hobson, who had 20 points today. Then Jay Burson gets the steal, and he'll take it on in for the layup. 10-point Ohio State lead at halftime. Reggie Williams, foul trouble, had to sit on the bench for 6 minutes in the first half. And here come the Hoyas on the way back. The drive and layup. A little playful push there by John Thompson to Gary Williams. They used to, of course, meet in Big East action. But that basket inside tied things up. Then Charles Smith from the outside put the Hoyas up by 3. And the Hoyas go on to win it by 3. And a nice little embracing after the game by Williams and Thompson. What did you think of the Hoyas today?
I thought they looked extremely good. I think that only added to their confidence. But Kansas did not want to become a victim to a Cinderella team. They played Southwest Missouri. Kansas did pull it out. They were a one-man gang. Danny Manning led them. They squeaked by 4 points. Now, Southwest Missouri took the lead early with some good offensive execution. Greg Bell here converting on the backdoor alley-oop. Danny Manning was simply unstoppable today, showing his array of shots, including the banker. Now, the Bears' Winston Garland did his best, dropping in 23 points on the afternoon with that NBA-type move. Manning's teammates knew he was hot. They went to him. He converted. And, of course, Papa Manning had to be proud. It was the same story for Manning in the second half, just as effective in the paint. And when the big fella decided to shoot his hook shot, it was Kansas all the way.
Were you conscious at all of how, at the record rate with which you were scoring, 42 finally?
I didn't know. I just wanted to go out there and just try to do what my team needed me to do. I could have rebounded and played better defense, but my teammates gave me the ball in great position. All I had to do was turn around and go up strong.
Now you got to play a team. If you think these guys came after you, now you got to play a team that's going to go after you 94 feet, and that's Georgetown.
They got so many people, and John's done a great job. I look down his bench. You can't trade in college, Billy, and it's going to be tough. But I want to enjoy this for a little while. I'll let Danny worry about Georgetown.
So the semifinals in the Southeast bracket look like this. Georgetown and Kansas will go head-to-head. Georgetown's vaunted defense will have its hands full trying to stop the big man, Danny Manning, in the middle.
All right, James, and the other two teams in that regional will be Providence and Alabama at Louisville. And we'll continue and come back and take a look at drug testing and its influence on this year's tournament as we continue on the road to the Final Four. All right, our coverage of the tournament, of course, coming up, we have UTEP against Iowa, but we'll continue on Thursday night. Prime time lineup we have for you. North Carolina and Notre Dame. These two met during the regular season. The Fighting Irish beat the Tar Heels when they were ranked #1. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern, or you will see the Kansas-Georgetown game. And then on tape delay that night, it's Florida against Syracuse at 11:30 Eastern and Pacific time here on CBS. Now, as we've mentioned, this is the first year in which drug testing has become part of the NCAA tournament. Adding to the already controversial situation is the publication this week in Sports Illustrated of Gary McLean's first-person account of his cocaine use during his career at Villanova, including the Wildcats' victory trip to the Final Four in 1985. Now, earlier this week, James and I interviewed McLean and asked him if he was aware of the damage his story had caused to his former teammates and coach Rollie Massimino.
I'm not doing this to hurt anybody. Unfortunately, obviously, there will be some people that will look on the whole program. But everybody has to go on. And Coach Mass was a great coach. And I have no qualms about the situations that I endured at Villanova. I won a championship. Nobody's taking my ring. Nobody's taking that away from me.
Do you think that you're strong enough now to be able to look Coach Massimino in the eyes, look those who remained unnamed in the eyes again? Well,
yeah, I look anybody in the eye in the world. Anybody. Right dead in the eye.
You mentioned Len Bias and hearing about that situation, crying, but then a couple of hours later indulging again. Coach Massimino called you guys for a team meeting and talked about the John Lucas situation. If those stories didn't have the effect that it intended to have on you, why will the Gary McLean story be any different?
It's not all about an effect. It's all about an awareness. The story is true. It happened to a real person that accomplished real things and almost lost the biggest real thing, his life.
So this story was not done to make money for Gary McLean?
Exactly. No way.
True or false, you did receive a payment to do this article?
True or false?
Is that true?
It's not important. It's not important. As I said time and time again, you could ask me the question, I'll tell you that it's just not important. There's no price for my life. I don't know about anybody else. There's no price for what I've been through.
All right, it was later confirmed that Sports Illustrated did indeed pay compensation to Gary McLean for that article. Now, Rollie Massimino declined to comment, but earlier today we did speak with NCAA Tournament Committee Chairman Dick Schultz, and we asked him if he felt it was a coincidence that this article appeared on the eve of the tournament.
I doubt if it was a coincidence. I think the situation is very unfortunate. I think those of us who were at the championship when Villanova won it were very surprised at this statement because this young man made probably the finest, most eloquent statement I've ever heard about Coach Massimino. It was a very emotional thing, what Massimino had meant to him, and this story now seems to be almost a direct contrast.
Dick, what about drug testing in the tournament so far? We've been reading a lot about dehydration being a problem. How do you think it's going?
Well, Well, I think it's going quite well. I think the problem is that the press is overly excited and concerned about it. It's drawing far too much media attention.
Dick, the NCAA committee is conducting drug testing now. When do you expect the results, and what are you expecting to find?
Well, we'll find the results out before the regionals. Basically, the winning teams have been tested after first-round games. It takes a substantial amount of time to do the testing itself and get the confirmation. The impact will be that the players, if they do test positive, will be ineligible, not the teams.
Dick, quickly, will that information be made public once the tests come out?
The NCAA will not make that public. They will notify the chief executive officers and the athletics director, and they will then in turn notify the athlete and make any public statements that they care to.
Again, that interview was earlier today with Dick Schultz, the chairman of the tournament. Now, really, the big thing we've been hearing about the drug testing, James, is that after the games, the players are just worn out, they're dehydrated, and they cannot come up with a specimen.
A number of different problems that the NCAA committee is going to have to try and address next year. You talk about dehydration. Mark Jackson and, of course, Marco Baldi of St. John's had a little bit of difficulty. They were dehydrated after the game, and they tried drinking a lot of soda to try to induce a urine specimen and got sick. So there are going to be a number of things that the NCAA is going to have to re-examine.
Took North Carolina players 3 hours. Guard Thompson of Michigan complained it took him almost 3 hours to do the same thing. So that will have to be addressed, I'm sure, before next year's tournament. And, of course, the results, they say, will be coming back later this week. Well, coming up next here on CBS, we have more basketball action for you. It's UTEP against Iowa. Dick Stockton and Tommy Einstein have the call from Tucson.
Welcome to the McHale Center in Tucson, Arizona for second-round action in the West region. And in this game, we have the University of Texas at El Paso Miners against the Iowa Hawkeyes. And the Hawkeyes are seeded number 2. And the winner of this game will face Oklahoma. The Sooners defeated Pitt in the first game. The winner will face Oklahoma in the Western Regional Semifinals in Seattle on Friday night. And hello again, everyone. I'm Dick Stockton, and welcome to Tucson, Arizona. You know, in many quarters, people think that Iowa has the stuff of champions and perhaps a good chance to get to the Final Four. But in order to do that, they're going to have to beat UNLV a little later on down the road. And today, upset-minded University of Texas at El Paso, coached by the crafty Don Haskins. Now, Iowa has a history going back 31 years, and it was in 1956 that the Hawkeyes were the NCAA runner-up, and they lost to the San Francisco Dons, starred by Bill Russell and Casey Jones. And right now, Dr. Tom Davis of Iowa seems to have the Hawkeyes on track to perhaps get to that point. Meanwhile, the University of Texas El Paso has one bright, shining moment in their history, and it came in 1966 when the Texas Western Miners, as they were known then, beat Kentucky in the NCAA championship. Bobby Joe Hill with a big steal in a basket, and it was Texas Western beating Adolph Rupp, the Baron of the Bluegrass, in a shocking upset for Texas Western, now known as UTEP. And Don Haskins, the coach, talked about the difference between the two teams.
This group of kids, they love to win, and they'll fight back, and they'll scratch and claw, and they'll never give up. They might get beat, but they'll never give up. And that, you know, anytime you have a championship team, you have to have that.
Tom Heinsohn, what kind of a game can we expect today?
This is a contrast of two defenses, Dick. Iowa is like a sledgehammer. They hit you and hit you and hit you again with severe pressure, and they wait for you to knock yourself out. And the Miners of UTEP, they go out and they have the most fundamentally sound man-to-man defense. You can't go one-on-one too easily against them. No easy passes will you make. And if you get the ball inside, you get surrounded.
These two coaches are excellent coaches, and one has won a national title, and the other one someday, a lot of people think will also win one.
Well, Haskins is a bear, and he brings ferocity and aggressiveness to his ball club. And Tom Davis is a student of the game. He's got a great theory that he's translated, that he's developed over the years to several different schools. But this school here is going to be one of the best to utilize it because he's got great athletes.
And Tommy, you know, no one has really solved the full court Iowa pressure this year. They only have 4 losses, all in the Big Pac-10 and all to teams in the NCAA tournament. And the fact is, no one has really solved that full court pressure.
That pressure is something that confuses people with it. I think UTEP today has a particularly good team to do it. They've got some very fundamentally sound ball handling people. They're not going to get rattled, I think, as perhaps Santa Clara did the other night against it.
All right, so it's UTEP and Iowa coming up. And we'll be back with the starting lineups. And the winner here will go on to Seattle and play Oklahoma in the Western Regional Semifinal.
CBS Sports presents the NCAA Basketball Championship. Today's second round game from Tucson is sponsored by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. Monroe Shock Absorbers for shocks and struts. America rides Monroe. And by Mazda Cars and Trucks. The more you look, the more you like Mazda value.
And the beautiful horizon of Tucson, Arizona, with all the cactus and the blue sky and the mountains. Tucson, Arizona. And we've been at McHale Center on the campus of the University of Arizona, where the Wildcats of the Pac-10 played and lost in their first round game. But now we're ready for second round action. And right now, let's go to the public address announcer, Roger Settlemeyer.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to McHale Memorial Center for this evening's West Regional second round game between the University of Texas El Paso Miners and the Hawkeyes from the University of Arizona, or from the University of Iowa. And now let's meet the starting lineups. For Texas El Paso at forward, a 6'7" senior from Los Angeles, California, number 11, Quentin Gates. For Iowa at forward, a 6'5" sophomore from Flint, Michigan, number 23, Roy Marble. Also at forward for Texas El Paso, a 6'6" junior from Long Beach, California, number 32, Chris Sandel. For Iowa at forward, a 7-foot senior from Glendale, Arizona, number 54, Brad Lojas. For Texas El Paso at center, a 6'7" senior from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, number 50, Mike Richmond. For Iowa at center, a 6'7" senior from San Bernardino, California, number 3, Gary Wright. For Texas El Paso at guard, a 5'10" sophomore from Chicago, Illinois, number 10, Tim Hardaway. For Iowa at guard, a 6'2" sophomore from Detroit, Michigan, number 10, B.J. Armstrong. For Texas El Paso at guard, a 6'1" senior from Gardena, California, number 22, Hernell Jackson. For Iowa at guard, a 6'6" senior from Springfield, Illinois, number 35, Kevin Gamble. And now, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the head coaches. For Texas El Paso, in his 25th season, Don Haskins. For Iowa, in his first season, Tom Davis.
Iowa has won 5 in a row and 9 of 11. UTEP, 10 of their last 11. Two red-hot teams getting set to square off. And we'll be back with the opening tip in a moment. Here at the McHale Center in Tucson, Arizona, 7th-seeded University of Texas at El Paso with a 25-6 record. They beat Arizona in overtime. And keep in mind that Arizona plays on this floor, so it was a big victory for UTEP. And UTEP this year, as you look at Iowa, UTEP lost to Georgetown by 4 points on the road earlier this year. And Iowa's 4 losses to Ohio State, Michigan, Purdue, and Indiana. All tournament teams from the Big Ten. What to look for, Tommy?
UTEP must beat the toughest zone press in the country. They can't afford turnovers. They've got to make Iowa pay for the gamble of the press. They've got to make easy baskets off the fast break. Iowa must be able to score inside if they can't get the fast break against a great denied defense.
UTEP controls, and it's Tim Hardaway, the point guard, who's made great strides as a point guard. Chris Sandel, the first basket of the ball game, the leading scorer for the Miners, averaging 13 a game. Iowa quickly back. And it's Lojas, the 7-footer, missing a 3-point shot, and he can roam out there, and he'll be an effective 7-footer today.
UTEP, a very effective fast break ball club.
Richmond, the center, out of bounds. It's Iowa ball. And this game may be quicker paced than we expected, Tom.
Iowa tries to force you to play the pace game, and they throw that pressure defense at you for the entire ball game.
UTEP in their familiar man-to-man defense, one of the best, but they get the pass inside to the baseline. And the basket by Kevin Gamble, who's averaging over 11 points a game. And a discontinued turnover against UTEP gives the ball to Iowa.
Here comes a bounce pass inside to the postman. Tom Davis, a believer that that's the way to feed the post on the floor. It paid off that time.
B.J. Armstrong is the point guard for Iowa. Wright can't hold on. Wasn't a good pass from Armstrong, and UTEP coming on 3-on-1. The shot going up by Quentin Gates misses. And now Gamble has the rebound into the hands of Armstrong, the point guard, and another turnover. Jeep Jackson feeding Mike Richmond for the bank shot. Rojas the rebound, and the foul is against Quentin Gates of UTEP, and what a sizzling start to this game.
I believe UTEP has the ability, once they beat the zone press, to take it at fast break speed. You watch them now, push it up the court. They are very good at this. You notice their big wingman, pull up, shoot a jumper. Most big guys like him would have tried to go in and slam it. So there's a little finesse on their fast break.
The officials are Booker Turner, Tom Frame, and Willis McJunkin. Armstrong being defended by Tim Hardaway. Kevin Gamble. And now they go out to Gary Wright. Still Iowa ball, the Hawkeyes. Pressure defense and pressure offense, and that's the name of Tom Davis's game, and he was successful with it at Boston College. He's got a better group here.
Haskins says that Iowa's defense is their best offense, but they've got some pretty good scorers here, like Rojas, Wright, and this man in particular,
Roy Marble. If Iowa has a star, he's it. Roy Marble, averaging 14.8 and a steal on the pressure in the basket by Marble again. And here is that pressure.
The first job is to inbound the ball. That's difficult enough with Rojas, the 7-footer, standing there trying to make you steal.
6-2 the score. Quentin Gates misses in a long rebound and a 3-on-3 now. And Hardaway slowed up the break. Gamble misses from the corner. Loose ball into the hands of Chris Sandel. And here comes UTEP. Hardaway pushes it up all the way and gets the basket. It's 6-4.
And it comes right back in your face.
They like to use the 7-footer Rojas out on the perimeter. He's a good passer. Gets the ball into Armstrong, and the point guard makes it 8-4 in favor of Iowa.
They set great picks, Iowa.
Again, it's 3-on-2 fast break. The reverse layup is missed by Jeep Jackson. Sometimes he can be out of control, but he is a wonder to watch. Gamble deflected out of bounds. It's Iowa ball, and here come the substitutions for Iowa. Maybe the best sixth man in the country, Jeff Moe, a man who relishes that role. Also coming into the ball game is Ed Horton, number 25. There's Bill Jones, a forward, number 14.
And Dick, this is like the Chinese army. They throw waves and waves of troops at you. They're not afraid.
Jackson intercepts the inbound pass. And Jeep Jackson with the basket. Also in the ball game is Chris Blocker, and you'll like him, a junior college All-American transfer for UTEP. He's wearing number 23. It's 8-6 in favor of Iowa. Blistering pace to start out here. Rojas, the 7-footer. This is in the rebound by Chris Sandel. Gets it out to Blocker. Blocker, great feed to Richmond, but he missed the layup. Now Iowa back. Jones goes up without the ball, and now it's 3-on-1. And Hardaway's pass, no basket, as Richmond laid it in a foul before the shot. And Tom, do you remember any game, college or pro, that started out at this pace?
You would have thought the Oklahoma game against Pitt was going to be fast-paced, but this one looks like it's got to beat at least in the first few minutes.
There's Al Lorenzen, a 6'9" junior from Cedar Rapids, who's a good shooter and a power forward who's been bothered by leg injuries in there now. So wholesale substitutions as expected by Tom Davis. And of course, he uses everyone and keeps everyone involved.
Wave after wave after wave of troops. They try to kill you with numbers.
Jackson and Hardaway, the backcourt. Blocker is in there up front. And Sandel shoots and hits. That's a two-point shot for Sandel to tie the game.
Iowa was in a zone that time.
They go low inside. Marble. Now Lorenzen. Lorenzen scores. And a foul as well.
Iowa's motion offense, Dick, is outstanding in that they set beautiful picks to free people. Watch them just move the ball around. Inside it goes, and you watch the weak side of the UTEP defense. Iowa takes advantage of it by getting it to Lorenzen, and he scored.
The foul was on Chris Sandel, and so here is Al Lorenzen. Let's go. And we already have 4 substitutions for Iowa. The only man who started the game still in there is Roy Marble for Tom Davis. Lorenzen misses the free throw. Horton tries to save it, and it's in the hands of Marble. Iowa leading 10-8. And a little more than 4 minutes gone by in this game. First half. Tremendous action here in Tucson. Gambling is Hardaway for the steal, and they'll call the foul on Tim Hardaway.
The guards of UTEP will be out challenging in the passing lane. It's very difficult against UTEP's defense in the low post to feed the ball in the low post. They three-quarter. They get in the passing lane with their hands.
You got to be in great shape to play the press, and that's why 10 of Iowa's players are averaging at least 11 minutes of action a game. The only one in the 30s is Roy Marble. Lorenzen outside. Being guarded by Wayne Campbell, who's come in. He started the year, a three-point shot by Jeff Moe, who's the best three-point shooter in the Big Ten, and Iowa leads by 5.
The press that time handled nicely by UTEP.
UTEP slowing it up, trying to get a good shot. Jeep Jackson hits a three-pointer for UTEP. Jackson scored 9 of UTEP's 19 points in overtime in their first-round victory over Arizona. 13-11 now, Hawkeyes. Marble has the ball knocked away. Great defense, helping defense by UTEP.
That's what UTEP does so well. Great hands by their 2 guards.
Blocker going in and gets the basket. Chris Blocker, who scored 12 off the bench in UTEP's first-round win.
Excellent ball handler now, the third man to help beat the UTEP press.
5 in a row run off by UTEP. Horton misses the shot. Jeep Jackson tries to save it, and it's going to be Iowa ball. And another substitution coming in the ball game for the Miners. As you look at the turnover story, Terry Stallworth, the 6'4" sophomore from Long Beach. We're seeing a lot of guys today in a good game off the top.
Stadium Golf's premier arena challenges the year's PGA champions at the Tournament Players Championship in 2 weeks on CBS Sports.
UTEP actually used 6 defenders practicing against Iowa's press yesterday, and this is the idea.
Yeah, the first big problem is how to inbound the ball. Then you got to beat a big trap situation. Here's the first problem, inbounding the ball. Lohaus the 7-footer, and there's a man from Iowa standing right there where he thought his teammate was going to be, and they make easy baskets like that. You can't hardly see your teammates when Lohaus is surrounding the man taking the ball out of bounds.
Not only that, Tom Davis camouflages the different defenses too.
As to where the openings might be, Haskins says this is one defense where they force you to put the ball where they want you to put the ball.
Meanwhile, Iowa inbounding in a 13-13 game. Jeff Moe and B.J. Armstrong are the guards. Brad Lohaus back in there. Gary Wright up front and forward, along with Kevin Gamble. And on the turnover, Chief Jackson lays it in to give UTEP their first lead since 2-0.
They will be out hawking the ball, these little guards of UTEP. Chief Jackson, Hardaway.
They like to keep Lojas away. Wright, in essence, is their center. Mo goes up and is called for the offensive foul. 7th turnover by Iowa, Tom.
Not using big people in that low post. How does a guard get down in the low post?
And it is still going UTEP's way.
There it is, again, having difficulty just inbounding the ball.
Now, they did not call that foul. It was just lost, they said, by Mo. So no foul on Mo. UTEP has scored 7 in a row, trying to get it in bounds, and they do to Quinton Gates. Now Iowa goes back in the zone.
And the 5-second almost went off that time before the ball was inbounded. They put you under such pressure.
Evan Gamble is the point man in the 1-2-2 zone for Iowa. Same defense that Tom Davis used at Boston College. Blocker with a fake and an off-balance shot, and it almost went. And the rebound by Gary Wright. Armstrong, 2-point shot. 2-point basket by B.J. Armstrong, the sophomore from Detroit. Turnover, Mo puts Iowa in front by 2.
Boy, that's a great steal by Gamble, a much bigger player than the Jeep.
Terry Stallworth in the forecourt. Mo all over him. What a great spark that Jeff Mo is coming off the bench, and as we said, he likes that role of 6-man. Baseline, Quinton Gates with a fine move.
Now there's a man I think is really going to have an effect in this ball game. Very clever offensive player, Quinton Gates.
Armstrong guarded by Jackson. Mo defensed by Stallworth. Lojas up on top. They find Armstrong, and the shot blocked, and the foul is called against Terry Stallworth. And coming back in the ball game is Chris Sandel for UTEP and Tim Hardaway, their point guard.
You see what I meant on that last play, Dick? The ball gets inside, and you get surrounded. There were 3 men surrounding Armstrong when he tried to put that shot up.
Mo goes out of the game, but not before he hit a 3-pointer and had 5 points, and is Iowa's leading scorer. And on the line now is Armstrong, as Roy Marble, their leading scorer for the Hawkeyes, also returns.
That's unusual. Lojas, the biggest man on the court at over 7 feet, very rarely plays in the low post. They keep him on the outside as a big target for passing, and he can see inside to make good passes to guys like Armstrong.
Iowa by 2 with 12:32 to go. First half. Basically, UTEP has done a pretty good job of getting that ball inbound and have even attacked the basket and made Iowa pay, which is what Don Haskins wants to do today.
They could be ahead if they'd made a few layups against that lone defender in the press.
Gates up on top. Hardaway. They get it inside to Wayne Campbell. And there is that man Gates, tipped up and in, and it's offensive interference called against the Miners. Turns the ball over to Iowa.
And there were 2 UTEP rebounders rebounding against Lojas, the 7-footer, and boy, they were quicker to the jump than he was. Watch it slide inside. Lojas goes after him, and there's Quinton Gates up back inside, and I don't think the ball was over the cylinder that time.
So Iowa 14-0 in non-conference games. Looping pass right to Marble. They couldn't make it. Marble gets the basket, and UTEP inbounds successfully. Gates goes up off the glass, and Armstrong with a 3-on-1, 4-on-1 break for Iowa. Broken up by Hardaway. Great defense by Tim Hardaway. Both ends of the floor. He gets the basket.
4-on-1 fast break, and you steal it. That's a play.
21-19 Iowa, and another turnover. That time it was Stallworth who caused it. 9 turnovers by Iowa.
UTEP uses their feet on defense in that man-to-man. They move.
And that's the toughest defense you can play, is man-to-man. And now the Miners looking to tie this game. We've already had 5 ties in this first half with 11:05 remaining. Second-seeded Iowa against upset-minded UTEP. But Don Haskins, 26 years, is crafty. If anyone knows how to pull a big upset, he can. And they're going to call a 3-second violation against UTEP.
Here's the quick feed. There you see Hardaway just pick it off and steam up. I mean, he had them all that time. And normal thing is to run, turn your back and hide as they come at you. Instead, he changed it into 2 points.
Bill Jones, a 6'7" junior, comes in for Iowa. There's Chris Blocker, who's a junior and has long arms. He's out of Philadelphia and is a big factor for this UTEP team coming off the bench. Armstrong, starting point guard, is out of there. Might have been shaken up for the moment. Wright gets it inside to Marble. The basket, no. Traveling called against Roy Marble. And Iowa gets set to press again as UTEP will take it out on the side.
They've tried several alley-oops, Iowa, and UTEP right there.
UTEP is not a tall team, but they have a bunch of leapers. And they have interchangeable parts no matter what position they're listed at when they start.
All of them are good passes. That's why I think they'll be able to handle Iowa's zone press.
UTEP trying to tie this game. Air ball by Jeep Jackson. Rebound by Lojas. Not quite a rebound as he picked it off. Now Bill Jones. Mo for three. He's hit one earlier, and the rebound by Sandel for UTEP. Nearly halfway through this first half, Iowa leading UTEP 21-19. Hawkeyes had a 5-point lead, and UTEP came back. Jeep Jackson off balance, loses it again. He's made 3 plays that were not wise plays in traffic so far.
Well, they missed him for a 2 count, otherwise we would have got a layup.
Mo misses a 3. Blocker, 4-on-1, now 4-on-2. Good feed to Hardaway. Blocker, what a pass.
Say, a blocker, they say, is a flashy player, but I don't think he's that much flash. I think he does it just with a big purpose in mind.
And our 6th tie of this first half at 21. Iowa 28-4 with 5 in a row. And Marble breaks the tie. Roy Marble now with 8 points is the game's high score. But here's a 3-on-1. Jackson comes back, ties it up for Texas UTEP, and will have a chance to put him ahead.
Once you beat the trap on the zone press, and you can get the ball into the middle, there's only 1 defender left. And UTEP is a 3-on-1 situation, a good fast break team. Now, you watch them get the ball up quickly, and immediately it's a fast break situation, and UTEP, a fast break team, says, hey, that's just what we want. 3-on-1s will score.
There's Wayne Campbell, who is the best offensive rebounder on this team. He comes off the bench, started earlier in the year, had knee surgery, and a pretty courageous comeback for Wayne Campbell, the junior out of New Orleans. So UTEP making Iowa pay. Jackson misses a chance for a 3-point play, and there's Wayne Campbell, that offensive rebounder we told you about, putting UTEP in front 25-23. 9 minutes to go in the first half. Inside to Marble. And the foul is called against UTEP as Quentin Gates comes back in the ball game. Horton will be the guy going to the line, Ed Horton, and the foul was on Mike Richmond.
Richmond is a must player for them. He's the biggest guy, and they're a real big low post option, so he can't afford to get in foul trouble whatsoever.
First foul on Richmond, and Ed Horton, a strong moose inside, who started at center for the first 24 games of the year. He's just a sophomore out of Springfield, Illinois. In fact, went to the same high school as Kevin Gamble.
That is a wide body, Dick.
A real wide body. Lojas tried to save it, and it's going to be UTEP ball. Kevin Gamble will come back. What a game we have here with UTEP up by 1. Tom Tommy, we've already talked about inbounding the ball, but let's talk about 2, 3, and 4. Beating the trap, crossing the line, and then attacking the basket.
Well, beating the trap is not so easy, particularly if Lojas surrounds you. And you'll see right here that they do it effectively. It gets inbounded before the trap develops. It's up, and now it crosses the timeline. They get it back into the wingman, and there's only one defender. That's attacking the basket. Jeep Jackson, the wingman on the fast break, and hit it. Any one of these UTEP players can make a strong layup.
UTEP has 14 fast break points to only 2 for Iowa, but as Tom mentioned at the outset, they may be running, but this is a defensive game, and the defense will win it. And here's UTEP. 3-on-1 on the steal. Gates is fouled inside. UTEP has no fear of going strong to the hoop every chance they get.
They are leapers, and they are used to taking a number of shots themselves. I tell you, Don Haskins is doing a great job in rotating his people against all this Chinese fire drill that's going on by Tom Davis.
Checking scores and finals from around the NCAA action today. The foul was on Horton, his first foul, and Quentin Gates misses the first free throw.
Gates, very important player, Dick. He is an exceptionally fine ball handler for a big man. They use him in essence at the power forward spot. That's terrific.
And he draws the opposition's top gun on defense as well. And right now, Gates is guarding Roy Marble, who is the top gun for Iowa. It's 26-24, 8.5 to play, first half.
And UTEP is in a little bit of a zone right now so that they can save a little stamina and also protect against the foul situation and show Iowa a different look.
And it's last touched by Iowa, and great hustle by Wayne Campbell. And it was UTEP that caused another turnover. And they get it in bounds to Quentin Gates. This is a well-coached team. As a matter of fact, both teams are. But keep in mind, UTEP is the underdog against Iowa here. UTEP with the ball and a 2-point lead. Blocker slams it through, and a foul. Lojas winds up on the floor.
Iowa's blocker, a guard doing that. I'll tell you, there's blocker, a quick forward, a guard, plays 3 positions. He's free on the baseline. Up he goes, and Lojas, the 7-footer, doesn't go up to block it. He takes the charge instead.
And the foul will be against Blocker, his first, but the basket counts. And it's 28-24, and Lojas goes out of the ball game right now. And right now, it's Lorenzen checking back in. So Lorenzen, B.J. Armstrong, Kevin Gamble, Roy Marble, and Gary Wright are the 5 men in there for Iowa.
As much as Tom Davis wants to confuse the other team's offense with his press defense, that's what Haskins is doing right now to Iowa. He's got a zone, a 1-2-2 zone, a 3-2 zone, and you don't expect Haskins to play zone defense.
Now, Tom Davis said that UTEP used the zone ever so briefly against Arizona and was wary of this. Gamble takes a 3-point shot off the mark, and it's last touched by Gamble. It'll be UTEP's ball. Iowa, 28-4 on the year. Their best regular season in history. Opened with 18 in a row. Top ranked for a long time, but getting all they can handle from the Miners, who turn it over on that inbound pass.
Well, that was a good pass, believe it or not. And Hardaway really thought he was going to catch it and steam up the court instead of catching the ball first.
7:20 remaining first half of an action-packed half, with UTEP leading the Hawkeyes of Iowa 28-24. The lob pass to Lorenzen doesn't go. Gary Wright goes in and scores for Iowa. Blocker now trapped at midcourt, in trouble. And it's the Iowa ball.
They don't just trap you when you inbound the ball. Sometimes if they miss you there, they'll cut you off with a trap as soon as you cross the timeline.
And Jeep Jackson comes back in the game.
You got to put pressure on the lone defender. All of a sudden, blocker stops, and there's the trap once again, and blocker can't control it. Those are key turnovers.
Jeep Jackson in the game. He has scored 9 points to lead UTEP. Marble has 8. High score for Iowa, and gambling and almost getting the steal was Jackson. Don Haskin, who has been here 26 years, was called Texas Western at one time and an NCAA title back in '66. Well, going out is Gamble, and Jeff Moe reports back in.
If you can keep track of all these substitutions, Dick, you're a better man than me.
Good one bounce pass into right, no basket, and a foul. What about that bounce pass that Tom Davis loves to use?
You know, when I was coaching the Boston Celtics, he was at Boston College, and we used to talk about that. And I say, why do you feed the pivot with a bounce pass? And he would say, well, the guys play zones, and they have their hands up, and it's easy to put the ball on the floor. And I always contended that if you got a big man, put it up high so that he can catch the ball and go easily to the hoop. But it's working, and he's making it work.
Hardaway commits his second foul, and Wright makes the free throw. Really is a center more than a forward. Lojas is more of a forward than a center. It's 28-28, 7 ties. UTEP gets it across with 6.5 to play in the opening half.
But they're not attacking the hoop like they did in the very beginning of this quarter, UTEP.
Fatigue?
No, they should keep attacking. I don't know why they're stopping right now.
Well, maybe a little fatigue. Good pass inside. Wayne Campbell misses, and Lorenzen with the rebound. Pulling up and hitting is Roy Marble. Roy Marble now with 10 points, and he is 5 for 5 from the field.
I'll tell you why they're not attacking. There's 2 defenders back. And the 3-on-2, they're not quite so sure they're going to attack it with a 3-on-2 situation.
So Iowa has made an adjustment.
Yep.
Alley-oop against 2 defenders, and Campbell gets the basket. They try to get it to Chris Sandel, but Wayne Campbell, the best offensive rebounder, with a big play. Great save by Jeep Jackson. We're tied at 30, and now UTEP can take the lead again.
It's a very unselfish team, UTEP. Boy, they are great team players. All unselfish.
Campbell. You out! And now Iowa, 3-on-2 coming back with B.J. Armstrong. And the follow-up by Marble is good, and Iowa regains the lead with 5:08 to go.
Well, they're not turning the ball over like we saw Santa Clara do against Iowa. UTEP right on the money with that press offense.
And you got to credit Iowa, too. Jeep Jackson with a 3-point shot. So Jeep Jackson, 45% from the 3-point marker, and it's 33-32. The Miners take the lead again. 4:40 to go. No more than 5 points have separated the 2 teams so far. Lorenzen gets inside. He sliced through 2 defenders. And now it's Iowa regaining the lead by 1.
Oh, UTEP slowing it down a little bit.
1-2-2 zone defense by Iowa. That's what they settle into in the half court after you beat the pressure. Chris Sandel misses. Lorenzen is fouled by Wayne Campbell, and that is the bonus for UTEP, and he'll shoot it at the other end. Here's the Bear.
The Bear will never get excited if a man picks up a foul going for the offensive rebound, because that's his kind of basketball. Control the boards and you win.
Protege of the great Henry Iba at Oklahoma State. That's where he learned it first.
Very basic basketball. And I'll tell you, his players are so well coached fundamentally in every aspect of the game.
Lorenzen on the line. Shooting 1-1. Misses in the rebound by Jeep Jackson.
There are no specialists, I don't believe, on a UTEP basketball team. Everybody does everything.
And maybe you can say the same thing for Iowa.
Well, they got this press team.
Richmond with the short jumper. First basket of the game from Mike Richmond, who's averaging 12 and a half. He could be a key before this one's over.
He is got a hit inside, Richmond.
UTEP 35, Iowa 34. Nearly 3.5 to go in the opening stanza. Marble shuffles it inside to Gary Wright. Knocked away by Richmond into the hands of Antonio Davis, a freshman from Oakland, California. And Don Haskins has been forced to go to 9 and 10 guys. Normally he likes to use 7.
That's what Tom Davis forces you to do.
Quinton Gates for 3. UTEP by 4 now.
Gates, a rebounder, an outside shooter.
Gamble to Marble, basket good and a foul, and Iowa right back at you.
Seems to me we've seen this kind of basketball in other places, Dick.
This is a sensational first half here at Tucson.
You watch this pass into the middle. Look at, they surround him, and he finds somehow an opening, and beautiful hoop.
Foul is on Jeep Jackson, and into the ball game is Terry Stallworth, and Roy Marble will go to the line. He is perfect from the field. He has hit all 7 of his shots. And Marble now with 15 points in the ball game, and he has already surpassed his season's average. Well, the Bear still has the lead by 1. We'll be back.
Last year, he dazzled his way to gold. This year, American Brian Boitano defends his title at the World Figure Skating Championships next weekend on CBS Sports.
Right in the middle of that huddle is Tom Davis, first year at Iowa, an ideal marriage of coaching and talent. And of course, he plays down the role of Dr. Tom Davis. A lot of people refer to him as Dr. Tom Davis. His doctorate was in recreational activities of colonial Americans. In other words, Ben Franklin swam.
Pretty good thing to be a doctor of, don't you think?
He did the work.
It makes you an automatic expert, doesn't it?
Look at the shooting so far. Iowa, and a lot of them have been the layups, and UTEP, I guess you could say the same thing. Iowa has only 23 shots from the field because of 13 turnovers, so UTEP has had more chances at the hoop. 38-37, UTEP with the ball in the lead. Under 3 minutes remaining in a sensationally paced first half, and well played, even though there were turnovers. This is a superb defensive duel here.
And Haskins not afraid to play a freshman, you know, that hasn't seen an awful lot of action. He knows he's got to play him in this ball game, use a lot of people, and he's doing it.
Talking about Antonio Davis, number 34, but there's Quinton Gates with the layup. They worked the clock and got a great shot.
Hardaway, a beautiful pass, made them all react to his penetration and found Gates.
40-37 UTEP. Moe and B.J. Armstrong outside. It's Gamble, Lojas inside along with Wright.
They're still in that zone, UTEP. They've gotten away from the man-to-man.
Lojas, who's averaged 11 and a half, has yet to score in this game. Beat to Wright, and they'll call the foul. Inside was Wayne Campbell and Terry Stallworth, and Stallworth gets hit for his second foul. UTEP is in the penalty. Well, how important is it to be in the West region and be successful? Well, 3 of the last 4 NCAA champions have come out of the Western Regional. And of course, Iowa, a lot of people think, is headed for a tremendous duel with UNLV. But before that, as we said at the outset, they're going to have to deal with UTEP and Don Haskins as Chris Sandel comes back in. Right. This is the first free throw. Iowa has committed only 3 fouls in this first half.
That's really surprising when you're dealing with a press team. They don't commit that many fouls. That's how well-schooled they are and not reaching for the ball.
1 out of 2 from Wright. It's 40-38. UTEP in front. Here's the pressure. Tipped by Lojas. There's the 7-footer. Making his presence felt, Armstrong. And the rebound. Taken down by that freshman Antonio Davis.
Boy, did he sky?
Antonio Davis from Oakland, California. And they say he may reach the 7-foot mark before he's through. He's 6'8" now.
He was over 10 feet that time.
There he goes now offensively, and Wright blocks it out of bounds.
Here's what Lojas does to cause you a problem. He's so big that if you try and go over the top of him, he's got his hands up, and there's the steal and the turnover.
Quentin Gates back in, and going out is Antonio Davis. And he looked good in the few moments he was in there.
I tell you, he gave it the 20-minute shuffle off. You know, like he ran 20 minutes.
Gates. This is the jumper, and Kevin Gamble on the rebound. And now Iowa in a position to tie this game. We've already had 8 ties. There's the time remaining in the lower right hand of your screen in the first half. Sizzling action. Marble. He's guarded by Sandel. Armstrong. Now they swing it around. Marble now guarded by Gates on the other side.
They'll play the zone, but they get right up on the ball.
10 seconds on the shot clock. Gamble. Marble now fires it up and misses. Great defense by Terry Stallworth that time for UTEP. And Iowa missed the chance to tie it up.
UTEP will work the clock down, take the last shot.
Leading 40-38 and underdogs to Iowa, and the makings of an upset here with the number 2 seed in the West Region, Iowa, getting all they can handle against Don Haskins. Stick'em defense. Gates tipped up and in by Wayne Campbell with 3 seconds to go. And the last shot, no good. What a first half.
Play at a tip-in as Campbell just slides in, gets a good inside position, and is right there on Gates' miss to tip it in. I mean, they are not wide, some of these rebounders, but they are slithery like snakes.
And that's the end of the first half with the score. UTEP 42, Iowa 38 in a surprise. CBS Sports coverage of NCAA basketball will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship is sponsored by Mitsubishi Motors. Experience the sensation of the full line of new cars and trucks from Mitsubishi. Briggs & Stratton, the power in power equipment. And by Gillette Foaming for sensitive skin.
Well, it's a tournament of surprises, and another one taking place in Tucson as UTEP is leading Iowa at halftime. Welcome back to our New York studio. Jim Nance along with James Brown. And how about this one? I never thought the Hawkeyes would be in this much danger.
I got to be honest with you. That really is somewhat of a surprise to me. I did mention before how UTEP's guards would have to handle that Iowa pressure. They've done that and more, plus got some good outside scoring from the guards.
Don Haskins seems to always find a way to keep his team in a ball game. All right, let's run down the scoreboard. First game today out west was between Oklahoma and Pittsburgh. Sooners winning it by 3 over the Panthers. You know, some thought this was the year that Pittsburgh was going to put it all together. Here's the steal by Oklahoma, and watch Ricky Grace on the nice crossover dribble for a hoop. And Oklahoma led most of the way. Jerome Lane will take the outlet pass. Looks like the old New York schoolboy legend David Winter on that slam dunk. Jerome Lane, the leading rebounder in the nation this year. But here, Chu Kennedy, reverse dunk for Oklahoma. Paul Evans' team trailed by as much as 12 in the second half. But back came the Panthers. Charles Smith helping it out there. In fact, Pitt took a 1-point lead, but that seemed only to ignite Oklahoma. Here's Timmy McAllister, baseline shot, and Oklahoma began to pull away after getting tied up. In fact, getting passed by Pittsburgh. So Oklahoma goes on to win it. The West looks like this now in Seattle. Wyoming goes against number 1 seed UNLV, and Oklahoma awaits the winner of that UTEP-Iowa game. Tim McAllister leading the way today with 28 points. All right, in the Midwest, DePaul had to go to overtime to beat St. John's. The Redmen had an excellent chance of winning this, although they trailed at 1 point by 14. Blue Demons have only been knocked off 2 times this season. One reason why, the sparkling play of Rod Strickland. Watch this move off the glass. Strickland, only a sophomore point guard. Looney Karnivseka said, wait a minute, we're down 14 in the second half. Let's go to our main gun, Mark Jackson. 3-pointer, tied it up. And then St. John's took the lead. Shelton Jones laying it in there. 5-point lead, but Joey Meyer's team came back in the last minute. The missed free throw by Comegys. And over to Strickland. Strickland has to convert here to send the game to overtime. He does. In the OT, Dallas Comegys. Chicago is hot on Dallas right now as Comegys gets the roll there, and DePaul goes on to win it. They got the early lead in the overtime and then never looked back, going on to win it 83-75. Next up for the Blue Demons will be LSU, a winner today, a surprise winner over Temple because LSU was the 10th seed, Temple the number 2 seed. The Owls, however, shooting only 36% from the floor. So Duke and Indiana now heading to Cincinnati in the Midwest Regional, and DePaul will take on LSU.
Jim, Syracuse coach Jim Boeheim had never won 2 straight NCAA games. He finally got that monkey off of his back in this year's tournament. His team went on to a 104-86 victory over Western Kentucky. Sherman Douglas had 27 points in that game. Florida from the SEC continuing to uphold the prestige of that region of the country. They beat Purdue 85-66. So the bracket looks like this. Syracuse, it'll be Notre Dame and North Carolina. Syracuse will then go up against Florida. Kansas was pretty much a one-man show today. An impressive performance by Danny Manning, 42 points worth as they eked by Southwest Missouri by 4 points. Greg Bell of Southwest Missouri helped them to an early lead with a nice-looking backdoor alley-oop slam. Danny Manning unstoppable down low, an array of shots, including that banker. Now the Bears' Winston Garland fired in 23 points, too, coming on that playground move there. Manning's teammates fed him whenever possible, understanding the results, and Papa Manning was quite happy. It was more Manning in the second half, this time down low as he delivers, and the big fella threw in a hook shot, and you knew they were on a roll.
Were you conscious at all of how at the record rate with which you were scoring, 42 finally?
I didn't know. I just wanted to go out there and just try to do what my team needed me to do. I could have rebounded and played better defense, but my teammates gave me the ball in great position. All I had to do was turn around and go up strong.
Now you got to play a team. If you think these guys came after you, now you got to play a team that's going to go after you 94 feet, and that's Georgetown.
They got so many people, and John's done a great job. I look down his bench. You can't trade in college, Billy, and it's going to be tough. But I want to enjoy this for a little while. I'll let Danny worry about Georgetown.
And it will only be for a little while that they get a chance to enjoy that victory because Georgetown got a strong performance off of the bench from Charles Smith. He helped them to a 3-point win over Ohio State. Ohio State actually jumped all over the Hoyas in the first half. All-American Dennis Hobson leading the way with 3 of his 20 points. The Buckeyes applied solid defensive pressure to lead by as many as 15. Jay Burson dropping in 2 of his 16. And with 3 first-half fouls, Reggie Williams could only watch. Georgetown couldn't fast break too often in the first half. Mark Tillman got him running in the second half, and with Coach Thompson feeling a little better, he playfully pushes his good friend. Hoya Perry McDonald started pushing his way inside to score and tie the game at 71-all. Ohio State tried to regroup, but reserve Charles Smith had a big day off the bench with 22 points, and Georgetown escapes with the win. So the bracket looks like this. It'll be Georgetown going against Kansas, the first time those 2 teams will ever meet, and Providence will meet Alabama. Ought to be a nice matchup.
Well, I'll say the 2 highest or lowest seeds to make it in the tournament so far, LSU and Wyoming. James, Thursday night, primetime lineup for you. Notre Dame will take on North Carolina. That's at live 9 Eastern time. Or you will see that Kansas-Georgetown ball game. And then late on Thursday night, on delay, you'll see tape delay, Florida against Syracuse. All right, the women's tournament, of course, going on at the same time. And here are some scores from today. Southern Cal, a winner over Western Kentucky. Center Monica Lamb led the Trojans with 29 points. USC a 12-point winner. In the women's West bracket, it now looks like this. Long Beach State will meet Mississippi. USC goes against Ohio State. In the Mid-East, Tennessee, a big winner today. The Lady Volunteers forced 30 turnovers in that ball game. Virginia, a 1-point winner. So in the Mid-East, it's going to be Auburn against Old Dominion. Virginia will take on Tennessee. In the Midwest, Iowa over New Orleans. The Hawkeyes opened up a 9-1 lead at the start and went on to win it by 22 over New Orleans. In the Midwest, Louisiana Tech will take on the winner of that LSU Southern Illinois game, which is just getting underway, and Iowa will meet Georgetown. And finally, in the East, James Madison by 8 over Vanderbilt. In the East, Texas is taking on St. Joe's tonight. Texas, the top seed in the country, and North Carolina State will go against Rutgers. And one more reminder, on Sunday, March the 29th, we'll have the women's championship game live 1 Eastern time here on CBS. It'll be coming from Austin. All right, we're going to take it back to Tucson. Dick Stockton and Tommy Heinsohn coming up. UTEP leading it by 4. We'll get to that in just a moment.
I like to have a good time, just like everyone else. But let me tell you one thing, drugs and alcohol just aren't part of my good time. I have too much going for me to let drugs get in the way. And alcohol, I can live without it. I like to be in control. And drugs are just a waste of time. Don't throw your life away on drugs. Say no. After all, you can't be a hit when you're high.
Something to think about from the NCAA.
There are a number of things that I think that you learn from being an athlete in college. One of the most important, I think, is appreciating the sense of competition. And appreciating your opponents. One of the other things that you can learn from college athletics, and I think I learned from playing football at Yale, is there has to be a sense of perspective to what you're doing. I like to think that playing football did make me a better lawyer. It taught me the need for preparation. It taught me the need for working hard to achieve something. It taught me that there are a lot of factors that go into winning. One of them is preparation, one of them is talent, one of them happens to be luck. I'm sure there are other ways for you to get that feeling, that competitive edge over people. I don't think that being a college athlete is the only way to do it, but I certainly think that it's a very good way to do it because of the lessons that you learn from being involved in competitive sports and how easily they can be applied to other areas of your life.
This message furnished by the NCAA.
UTEP leading Iowa 42-38 in a halftime surprise. Here in Tucson at halftime, Dick Stockton and Tom Heinsohn. What do you call UTEP?
The Rodney Dangerfield of college basketball. They get no respect. I think Don Haskins ought to give them all red ties. But really, Tom Davis does a great job at Iowa, too. This zone press is really something to behold.
Before we talk about beating the Iowa press, talk about UTEP's defense. And we said at the outset, how do you solve that tight man-to-man?
Well, I think Don Haskins fouled Tom Davis up a little bit. He was expecting a lot of man-to-man, and UTEP threw a little zone at him, and it took Iowa a little bit out of rhythm.
What about beating the press, which was really the theme of this game for UTEP against Iowa?
It is so difficult to defeat this press. First, you've got to get the ball inbounded, as you see, against the 7-footer. It goes into the middle. Usually they try to make you pass the ball into the corners so they can trap you easily. No trap. Now they get it over half court. They turn it into a 3-on-1 situation. One lone defender. UTEP, an exceedingly good fast break ball club, then just treats it like a normal fast break, and an easy one at that, a 3-on-1 for a layup. That's making it pay off like it's Las Vegas jackpot.
Here's the shooting story, and Iowa out shooting UTEP, but UTEP has taken 13 more shots. The turnovers, you would expect against the pressure that UTEP would turn it over more. Not so. Iowa, 13 turnovers to only 7 for UTEP. And here's another surprise, that Iowa goes 10 deep. UTEP only likes to use 7. And look at this, the bench scoring is even. So I think that UTEP is really giving Iowa a surprising battle here.
I think this team was perhaps one of the few teams in the country that could handle Iowa because they are all such good passers. They're quick forward, their power forward can handle the pass and dribble the ball. That's what you need, a combination of good ball handlers to beat this press.
All right, Tommy, UTEP leads 42-38. And CBS Sports coverage of NCAA basketball continues after a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship is sponsored by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet. The Travelers, one of America's strongest, most experienced financial experts. And by Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Dick Stockton and Tom Heinsohn back here in Tucson. Roy Marble with 15 points has passed the season's average, leading Iowa, and Jeep Jackson has reached his season's average just about with 12 points to lead UTEP. And it's Iowa's possession here, 42-38. They start out with Armstrong, Lojas, Wright, Marble, and Gamble.
And UTEP in their very difficult man-to-man defense, the overplay, the strong deny.
Chris Sandel and Quentin Gates. Mike Richmond, the center. Hardaway and Jackson, the guards. And another turnover against Iowa, and a foul is called.
What makes them such an exceptional defense, UTEP, is that they help each other so effectively. When you get into the middle of the court, you're going to see a lot of orange jerseys around you.
Gamble's first personal foul, and the first foul of this second half. Tim Hardaway, tremendous ball handler. He's out of Chicago, 5'11". Quentin Gates from Los Angeles, number 11. Jeep Jackson is from Carson, California. Sandel from Long Beach, and Mike Richmond from Philadelphia. They kick it around a bit, but UTEP still has it.
Iowa themselves playing a man-to-man defense.
Knocked away by Gamble. Lead is 4, 42-38. It's the way it was at intermission. Now 11 seconds on the shot clock for the Miners. 5. And Jeep Jackson, this is a three-pointer wildly off the glass. Outlet pass to B.J. Armstrong. And a foul, a shooting foul against Tim Hardaway will send B.J. Armstrong to the line.
UTEP just took too much time off that 45-second clock. Gates had an easy shot inside, should have taken that one. Instead, Jackson had to take a long bomb under pressure. And Iowa, when they get the rebound, they'll come back up at you with a fast break.
3 fouls on Hardaway. He leaves the game, and Chris Blocker, who scored 4 points, but is a big factor. He is 2 for 3 from the field in the first half, comes in for Hardaway. He's 6'5", so automatically a bigger team in there for Don Haskins.
That's a 6'5" guard. That rebounds.
Armstrong misses the free throw. Normally he's a good one at 78%. Now this is interesting. Iowa this year was 22-0 when they led at halftime. UTEP 21-1 when they led at halftime. So UTEP lost only 1 game this year when they were in front at intermission. Armstrong makes 1 out of 2, and it's 42-39. Here's the press.
Well, Tom Davis makes adjustments.
And bringing it up is Blocker. Open Sandel for the easy shot.
Blocker, I think, is a great basketball player. Totally under control. Made the entire Iowa defense react. Easy pass for a layup.
UTEP has its biggest lead of the game. Iowa had a 5-point lead early. Marble. Lojas tries to keep it alive, and it's cradled by Quentin Gates. And the biggest lead for either team has been 5 points, and UTEP can forge ahead by 7 here. But they don't. The missed shot by Blocker, and the rebound by Gary Wright. Quickly in the corner is Kevin Gamble, and Gamble scores for Iowa, and it's a 3-point game again.
It's going to go back and forth like this to the very last minute of this game, Dick.
And defense will decide this thing. Open is Sandel, misses, and Lojas, the leading rebounder for the Hawkeyes, granted. Man-to-man for UTEP. Going strong is Gamble. He's hit 2 in a row inside. Kevin Gamble, strong. And now here's a 2-on-2, Jeep Jackson. Richmond keeps it alive and scores. Big play by Mike Richmond of the Miners.
The center up at the front end of that thing. Good rebound to have if you have a missed layup.
And Marble is fouled inside. They got a good pass inside to him. And the only thing that Richmond could do is foul, and for Mike Richmond, that is his second personal foul. And here is the spark plug off the bench, Jeff Moe, the 6'4" junior from Indianapolis, who is a tremendous three-point shooter and a double-figure scorer coming off the bench for Tom Davis this year. Roy Marble, maybe only a sophomore, but he's considered a veteran by Tom Davis.
He's their best offensive player. He can put it on the floor. If there's a weakness in his game, it's probably the outside shot. But I'm sure before long, he'll have that too.
Iowa, 9 of 14. Makes good on its 10th free throw now. Lorenzen guarding the inbounds passer, and UTEP breaks it easily. 46-45, UTEP in front. Terrific shot by Richmond, the big man, and we said he might become a key factor before this one was over. Marble trapped in the baseline. Moe gets it back to him. Roy Marble goes up, and they'll call the foul against Sandel of UTEP. They'll send Roy Marble to the line again.
Richard is coming up right through the middle. Beautiful lay-down pass. I mean, that's patience and understanding of what can happen if you push the ball up fast.
Second foul on Chris Sandel, and Marble is on the line. Iowa is not an outstanding free throw shooting team. 67% overall coming into this game. But from the field, there's something else. All 5 starters shot 50% or better. 1 out of 2 for Marble. The rebound by Quentin Gates. 48-46, UTEP leading with 16:45 remaining in the second half. Pernell Jeep Jackson with the ball. Finds Richmond.
Iowa back in the zone.
Richmond. And it looks like UTEP is finding a soft spot close to the basket inside.
He's such a quick leaper when he gets that pass. He goes right up over most normal defenders.
50-46, UTEP with the same lead they had at halftime. They go back to Marble. Horton. And they're going to call another foul on Chris Sandel, his 3rd of the game. And the 14th foul against UTEP.
You watch Richmond now just get that ball as he rolls over the top. Lorenzen lets him in the middle of the zone. Horton doesn't quite get quick enough to him. The left-hand shot up and away before you even know he's got it.
And it'll be Lorenzen inbounding. And coming into the ballgame, Wayne Campbell. Campbell with a very fine first half, had 6 points. And going out is Chris Sandel with 3 personal fouls. Campbell, who had 3 rebounds and 6 points in 13 minutes. Loose ball inside. Gamble gets the basket. 50-48. Campbell trying to get it in and throws it away. And a 5-second violation was called. No basket, but it'll be Iowa ball under the hoop.
And Lorenzen, not Lojas, caused that situation. Put Campbell under pressure just to inbound it.
And a 3-point shot by B.J. Armstrong gives Iowa the lead, 51-50. Jeep Jackson penetrating and going up and giving UTEP the lead by 1, and back they come. Armstrong picked up quickly by Chris Blocker. Lorenzen, who's 6'9", playing outside, just like Lojas does.
They're going to Wright is a pretty effective inside player. So is Horton. And Gamble, he'll do it in there too.
And Wright stepped on the line. Lorenzen goes out. And Lojas is back in the game, and he'll try to harass the inbounds pass. So is Bill Jones, by the way, number 14. Campbell trying to get it in, and he does. Here comes the semi-trap, now 1 man on him. UTEP did it well there.
They change it around every once in a while, and they get you thinking you got a beat, and then all of a sudden they make it look like something different, which they did right there. Ready to trap you at half court. Haskins says, I'm going to call a timeout to make an adjustment.
He's a throwback as a coach who's just a coach, not an entrepreneur. That's Don Haskins of UTEP.
From the shooting stars to the dunk and dazzle, CBS Sports presents Life in the Fast Lane. The road to the Final Four continues primetime Thursday.
You're going to see how easy it is to get the ball inbounded, huh? There's a 7-footer, Lojas, and a fake to the middle. They want you to inbound the ball into the corner, but Haskins will have none of that. He'll get it to you right in the middle. Now, as soon as the ball is inbounded, they get it up quickly. There's a little confusion as Tom Davis had adjusted that defense, but now they bring it up quickly, get it over, and still attack the basket.
Quentin Gates will inbound for UTEP, leading 52-51. The winner will play Oklahoma on Friday night in Seattle in the Western Regional Semifinals. UNLV and Wyoming will be the other game out west.
1-2-2 zone defense now by Iowa, Dick.
And that's their patented half-court defense. Quentin Gates misses a three-point attempt, and the rebound by Bill Jones. He's out of Detroit, and a steal. Jeep Jackson going the distance. Big play by Jackson, and UTEP is up by 3.
Are they pesky little guards?
Yes.
Hardaway and Jeep Jackson, I wouldn't want to dribble against them.
Jackson has 5 steals and 16 points in the game, and the leading scorer for UTEP. Mike Richmond knocks it away into the hands of Hardaway. Hardaway working into the corner. Jackson passes up the shot, and UTEP will work for it.
And he passed up, making a pass, too, which was pretty smart. He would have had to throw it through the entire Iowa defense.
3-point lead, and UTEP trying to match their biggest bulge of the game. If they can score. Richmond lost the ball. He was in good position. He just lost it.
They had overloaded the zone, put an extra man on that baseline. He was wide open. Couldn't handle the ball.
Lojas, the 7-footer outside. Gamble and Jones now move outside, and UTEP playing a zone defense now.
That's what was so successful.
Inside to right.
Oh!
Richmond snares the rebound. And now Hardaway. He is a very smart young man, a sophomore from Chicago, and they have a wet spot that they want to towel up, but Tim Hardaway has made great strides as a point guard. His free throw shooting improved, and he is easily the best ball handler on this team. Well, Thursday night, we have a prime-time game. It'll be Notre Dame and North Carolina for most of you. Some of you will see Georgetown against Kansas at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 Pacific. And in 11:30, you will see another broadcast. Florida against Syracuse. That'll be Thursday night. Richmond, baseline shot. And UTEP is leading by 5, which matches their biggest lead.
He's getting in the slot on the bottom of the Iowa defense.
Richmond has hit his last 5 shots and has 10 points. 8 of them here in the second half. 13 minutes, 10 seconds, the time. Campbell slices in. No foul. And the rebound by Wayne Campbell. 2-on-1. Jackson. Offensive foul against Jeep Jackson. That'll be his second.
Excellent defense by Armstrong. He had to defend against 2 nifty ball handling guards, and he made Jeep Jackson commit. Cut off the pass to Hardaway. You watch this, how great it is. Here it is, a drive, and Gamble, all of a sudden they're off and running, and Richmond goes down hard underneath. They need him, no question about that.
Team fouls. UTEP already has committed 5 to only 1 for Iowa, and Iowa did not commit many fouls in the first half, and that's why UTEP has gone to the free throw line only 3 times in this game. Not because they're not calling it. That's because Iowa stayed out of foul trouble pretty well. Marble out to Armstrong for 3, and B.J. Armstrong brings Iowa to within 2 points.
Big hoop.
Armstrong has 13 now. He has passed his season's average of 12. 12 and a half to go in the second half. Inside, Wayne Campbell doesn't get the bounce, and Lojas with the rebound.
He intimidated Campbell, Lojas did.
Lojas for 3. And Brad Lojas hit on 22 3-point shots during this season.
A very unusual 7-footer.
57-56, and Iowa regains the lead with 12 minutes to go. And the crowd standing now. They're into this. Richmond foul inside against the Hawkeyes. Coming into the ball game is Chris Sandel, who is playing with 3 personal fouls. And this will be the second team foul against Iowa, and it goes goes against Kevin Gamble, his second, as Jeff Moe checks back in and Gamble sits down.
Well, the challenge to Don Haskins was to rotate his people in some similar fashion as to Tom Davis, so he would have fresh troops coming down the last part of the second half. And he certainly rotated his people quite nicely.
Mike Richmond, junior college transfer who was redshirted. He had 18 points and 11 rebounds in the first round.
I tell you, he is a moose in there. He spreads out, and he takes it strong to the hoop, and he's got a nice fall-away jump shot, or straight-up jump shot, I should say, in the low post.
And a good touch on the free throw. So Iowa's lead cut to 1. Richmond out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
3-2 zone by UTEP.
No team has had a bigger lead than 5 points. Marble fights for the rebound. Lojas. And Richmond goes after it and is fouled, and that should go against Iowa as Richmond went up vertically. You see some of the scores. Florida beating Purdue, and they'll face Syracuse in our late night broadcast Thursday night in the regional semifinals. Foul was on Jeff Moe. Check that. Roy Marble, his first.
I got to tell you, I am totally appreciative of your efforts on every substitution. This was not an easy game in regards to substitutions. Keep track of all of that.
It's better when 5 play all 40 minutes.
That's it, huh?
Well, I think your analysis is appreciated also, because it's a quick-paced game and a lot of nuances in the defensive end of it. Blocker with a jumper, Chris Blocker. Boy, he is a solid, sound, fundamental player.
He is going to be a big one. He's only been at UTEP 1 year. A junior college transfer. He's got 1 year to go.
Lojas hits another three-pointer. That's 2 this half, and it's 60-60. And our 9th tie of the game. UTEP breaks the press, and they're very patient. Other than Jeep Jackson, I haven't seen a UTEP player force a shot in this game.
Not really.
Very patient, poised team. Blocker for 3. Chris Blocker now with 9 in the game.
He is a player. Got some 6th man. Haskins has it. Chris Blocker.
And we know about Jeff Mose handling the ball for Iowa. Maybe the best 6th man in the country. At least the one that got the publicity. To the baseline, Roy Marble. And here's Hardaway. 2-on-1 fast break. And it's Blocker who goes up. And I'll credit Jeff Moe with breaking up that 2-on-1.
Beautiful hustle play. Got him from behind when he put the ball behind his head.
Boy, Iowa's defense is great when they're down 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 sometime. Now they're going to have another chance to show how great they are, but Hardaway gets the basket.
Hardaway was under control. Jeep Jackson the last time against Armstrong went up too fast, too strong, and was a little bit out of control. Armstrong played him for that.
UTEP again with a 5-point lead and a timeout called by Iowa. We've talked a lot about the head coaches, Haskins and Davis, but there are 2 distinguished assistant coaches on the UTEP side. Norm Ellenberger is a volunteer coach. He's the former head coach at New Mexico who left after recruiting and academic scandals at Albuquerque. But Don Haskins values his opinions greatly. Good man to have around. And what about the other guys?
Well, of course, Tiny Archibald, a great middleman and offensive guard, one of the all-time greats in the NBA. I'm sure that he can teach these pesky little guards at UTEP a lot of little things that perhaps they never knew existed. And it looks to me like he's caught their ear. They claim that they've been very helpful, both coaches, to the young players.
Iowa inbound, 65-60 with 9:23 remaining. UTEP has its biggest lead now. Iowa early in the game had a 5-point lead. Lojas getting position, blocked by Richmond out of bounds. Great play by Richmond, who has played a sensational game.
Here comes that bounce pass. Lojas has to come up and then go up and waits too long and allows an extra defender to get in there.
Steal on the inbounds pass by Quentin Gates. So UTEP causing Iowa problems on the inbound. And now the Miners looking to establish their biggest lead of the game with 9 minutes to go. UTEP led by 4 at the half. Iowa the favorite and the second seed in the West region behind UNLV. Out of the Big Ten in a great year with only 4 losses and no losses outside their conference.
Pretty good patience right here by UTEP.
Hardaway. There is the shot clock down to 6 on your left. Sandel hits the shot with 5 seconds, and now the biggest lead either team has had in the game, UTEP by 7. Marble, though, comes back in a hurry, and Marble with 20 points. 67-62. They beat it again this time with Chris Blocker. Spin move. And a foul is against Horton of Iowa. Horton of Iowa, and that'll be the 4th team foul against the Hawkeyes.
We're going to see some banging going on underneath. Here comes Blocker, a nice spin move back inside, gets the shot away on the miss. As Horton says, go down, you dog, go down. It's my ball. But the foul is on Horton.
Wayne Campbell out of New Orleans. Iowa with a big advantage on the free throw line. UTEP has only gone to the line 5 times. And of course, Iowa not fouling much and not sending UTEP into the bonus at all. Kick ball and a new clock, where it stays at 45, of course, and Quentin Gates against Lorenzen's outstretched arms. Here's the trap in the corner. UTEP got away with it that time. But now Iowa's really tightened the notch defensively here.
And Reeves in the back court a little bit with fresh feet and hands.
And the basket by Gates with 10 now. 69-62. Michael Reeves, a 6'3" junior from Milledgeville, Georgia. And many people say the best defensive point guard on the team. Horton trying to go to Marble on the baseline, and the foul is against Quentin Gates of UTEP. There's 6 team fouls. 6 team fouls against the Miners.
Here's the strong drive by Gates. Strong up to the hoop, and when you allow him to get on that baseline, he's clever enough to, with that dribbling ability, to score.
Armstrong for 3, and B.J. Armstrong now hits his 3rd three-pointer of the game, and UTEP's lead cut to 4, 69-65. Blocker, great shot by Wayne Campbell, and all UTEP did is beat the press and make Iowa pay.
Attack the basket, attack the basket. Once you get past the gamble part, it's your advantage.
UTEP all over Iowa, winding down to 7 minutes to go in this game. 71-65. The Miners lead, and they have led, except for a couple of moments, throughout the first half. Driving in and getting the basket for Iowa is Horton. Coming right back, Jeep Jackson crashing the boards is UTEP, and on the floor is Chris Blocker, and a foul against the Hawkeyes, and that will send UTEP to the free throw line. It's on Lorenzen, 5th team foul.
Watch him inbound Campbell right now. Lorenzen very active, moving from side. You're allowed to do that. That puts a little heat on the defense, creates an opening for them to inbound the ball.
Richmond comes in and Sandel goes out. Don Haskins is matching Tom Davis sub for sub in this game.
You know, Tom Davis has a theory on substitutions. He wants you to play full out. If you raise your hand and tell him you're tired and you go sit on the bench, you can come back in when you're not tired, when you're ready to go. But if you don't tell him you're tired and he takes you out, then it's his discretion when he puts you back in.
What do you think of that system?
I think it's pretty good.
Blocker misses both free throws. The UTEP hasn't had much of a chance at the line and not getting any opportunity. When they get the opportunity, they're not doing it. And traveling is called against Kevin Gamble, and that is the 19th turnover by Iowa as Tim Hardaway comes back in the game, and going out is Chris Blocker. So they got the good ball handler now, UTEP, not that the others don't do it well. And it's 71-67, UTEP ball.
A 1-2-1-1 zone press.
Is that like UCLA's? Traveling called.
A man cannot, on an out-of-bounds play, move along the baseline. He can only do that after a score. We saw him move along the baseline before. This time, when the ball went out of bounds, he's only allowed one step, and that's why he was called for traveling.
Lorenzen inbounds it to Marble, who gets the basket. Tough inside basket by Roy Marble, who has 22 points. Armstrong 16 and Gamble 10 for Iowa. UTEP has Jackson with 16 and Richmond with 12 and Gates 10. And a timeout called by UTEP. They had a 7-point lead at one point, but Don Haskins Miners have seen their lead cut to 2. This is the last game for the round of 16. Oklahoma beat Pittsburgh by 3 points in the first encounter, and the winner of this game will face Oklahoma in Seattle in the West Regional semifinals on Friday. The other half of the bracket, played in Salt Lake, saw top-seeded UNLV advance along with Wyoming over UCLA. So there are 15 teams out of 16 all set for the regional semifinals, and this is the last piece in the puzzle. Lohaus back in the ball game for Iowa, and it'll be Quentin Gates again on the inbounds pass, looking right into the face of Lohaus. Dick Stockton and Tom Heinsohn in a thrilling game here. Richmond gets by his defender. Campbell battling, but the rebound brought down by Ed Horton. Iowa looking to tie the game. Horton inside, and traveling called against Iowa. Turns it over, so the Hawkeyes miss a chance to tie the game.
And again, the old challenge. Get the ball inbound.
They've done a good job of that today. A good job.
And Iowa not really playing hard on those traps in the corner because they know they're not going to work. They're getting a little demoralized, both the coaching staff and the players. The traps aren't working.
Whoever thought that Iowa would commit a lot more turnovers than UTEP in this game? Looking at Iowa's formidable full-court pressure. There's the time remaining in the second half. UTEP leading 71-69. They led by 4 at the half. It's been close, 7 points, the biggest margin. That by UTEP with 8 minutes left. Richmond inside against Horton, short on it. Loose ball, and it's still UTEP, and you got to credit UTEP's ability to fight for that rebound and loose ball.
They are hanging tough, close to the basket. That's what Don Haskins said. This team has got lots of moxie.
Chris Sandel checks back in for the Miners. And going out is Quentin Gates for the moment. No, he's in there. Misses a three-pointer and Marble the rebound. Iowa trying to tie it up again. Iowa, very talented team. Noel Haas tried to put Iowa in front with that shot, and he'll call the foul on Sandel, I believe, inside, and that will be Sandel's 4th personal foul. Tommy, the rebounding story of this game, and you know, sooner you got to have the glass. Iowa led the nation coming in with the best rebounding margin. That's 12 rebounds better than their opponents. But today, their rebounding edge is only 4.
Well, when you do all that upbeat type of thing, running and what have you, it makes rebounding easy because nobody can block you out. But UTEP has, like I said at the top of the show, a very fundamentally sound team. They block you out very effectively, so you don't get that natural advantage off this quick-paced game.
Of course, Iowa in the bonus right now. They still have 1 foul to give before UTEP will be in the 1-and-1. And Marble, who has been the leading scorer in the game, he has been the heart and soul of Iowa's offense with 23 points, is 5 for 6 from the stripe. for 7 and a tie at 71. We have had 10 ties in this game. Hardaway. High off the glass. Foul is called inside, and it appears to be against the Hawkeyes. And if it's on Horton, it will be his third personal foul, and that would be the 6th foul against Iowa. So one more, and it'll be the 1-and-1. They call it on Kevin Gamble, and that's 3 on Gamble. Tom Davis, who started his coaching career at Lafayette, then to Boston College, where he just missed making the Final Four. Looking to get into the regional semifinals here. Turnaround by Wayne Campbell breaks the tie again for UTEP.
Get it inside if you can at key points of the ball game. That's where you're either going to get the easy shot or the foul.
Campbell off the bench has 10 points, and now you see why UTEP came in with 6 players in double figures on the season. Zone defense by UTEP. They've changed up and used the zone perhaps a lot more than Don Haskins is used to using.
And I'm sure they prepared mostly for man-to-man.
Gamble fights his way in and is fouled. Good move by Gamble. Good first step.
With a 3-2 zone, if you can get by into the gut of that thing, you can usually take it all away. That's what's happening. Gamble has alertly been driving the lane.
Chris Sandel is fouled out of the ball game. The leading scorer for UTEP on the year at 13 points has fouled out. He fouled out after scoring only 9 points in the first round. And he scores 8 today, and he's replaced by Mike Richmond in the lineup. So Chris Sandel, the junior, is out of there. And here is Gamble shooting 2. Into the NCAA's 8 of the last 9 years. UTEP 4 in a row. They're used to tournament play. And UTEP doing a tremendous job against the outstanding Iowa team.
Come down to the wire, Dick.
73 all, and a 3-point shot missed by Quentin Gates.
Horton is getting those crucial rebounds that Tom Davis told us about yesterday.
Lojas inside is fouled and will go to the line. And now Iowa working the ball inside, and Brad Lojas, who, according to Tom Davis, says he has a Dave Cowens mentality about basketball. He says, let's go play.
Plays hard. Doesn't have red hair, though, like Cowens did. It's sandy blonde.
Foul is on Quentin Gates, his 3rd. And here's Lojas. 69% from the line on the year.
He's an unusual player. And that 7 feet and a good outside shooting ability. And in that prior game, I saw him play a lot in the low post, and he scored pretty well down there.
Chris Blocker coming in for Quentin Gates now for UTEP. Gates goes out, having scored 10. But Lojas is the only player left from the Lute Olson era, who preceded George Ravelli, the last Iowa coach before Tom Davis. He's really a forgotten man who found a second life here. Takes 1 out of 2. And it's 74-73 Iowa. Jeep Jackson. Blocker. 3:50 to go. Iowa zone. 1-2-2. Walker out on the point. Works his way in. And Richmond fighting for the rebound, and a foul will be called against Iowa. And that may be on Ed Horton. And it'll be the 1-and-1. It's the bonus time. Both teams in the bonus. And for Horton, his 3rd foul.
You know, Blocker went down the lane on the drive. He'd be a key player coming down the stretch because he's big and he can take it to the hoop, and he's a good foul shooter. And they have not gotten to the line an awful lot, like you said, Dick, but right now, Richmond 7 times, 3 for 7. And they've been trying a lot of inside plays, too.
I'll get you one of those after the game, Tommy, to put on your face.
Okay. Get me one of those.
74-73 Iowa. UTEP looking for the lead. And Richmond, who's 63% shooter from the line, is 3 for 3 today. As you look at the foul story, Sandel is already fouled out, and the rest who have 3. 1 out of 2 for Richmond. And the game is tied at 74. Biggest lead was 7. That by UTEP with 8 minutes to go, and Iowa's come back.
UTEP back in a man-to-man.
Marble, a tough man, goes by Blocker, blocked, and a foul called. Wayne Campbell is called for the foul, and a tremendous move by Roy Marble as he went around by Chris Blocker with ease.
What a fake he lays on him. Now you see, Blocker has to fight through a pick, and he's a little late. That's what created that lifting action, and there's Campbell swatting it away but picking up the foul.
Haskins and Davis fighting it out with 3:11 to go. We're all tied. The story here in Tucson in the final game before we know who will be in the final round of 16. UTEP and Iowa tied at 74, and UTEP has only 1 timeout remaining with 3:11 to play. The foul story, and no one has 4. Chris Sandel already is fouled out for UTEP, and they come out with Richmond, Blocker, Jackson, Hardaway, and the 5th man is Wayne Campbell, who committed the foul, and Roy Marble will go on the line to try to give Iowa the lead again. Marble today is 6 for 7 from the free throw line and is the game's high scorer with 24.
As he got some nice moves, that last up fake move and the ability to step fast the way he did. I mean, that's dynamite stuff you're talking about.
Normally the stars in Tom Davis's system are the guards, like at Boston College, John Bagley and Michael Adams. Mostly Bagley, but Marble is doing a pretty good job of it. So Iowa leads by 2, 76-74, winding down to 3 minutes to go.
They're in a zone, Iowa.
Blocker, short, Lojas the rebound. Iowa with the ball and the lead. UTEP led by 4 at the half and stretched it to 7 before the Hawkeyes came back.
Well, they're being pretty patient right now, Iowa. Trying to get the ball and a good shot.
Looping pass from Horton to Gamble, and the layup by Gamble. 4-point lead for Iowa.
What a pass that was.
Blocker, double team. Richmond at the baseline. Lays it up and in, and a foul. UTEP coming right back, and it's 78-76.
We're going to see the last pass. The whole left side of the court is cleared out, so there's no help if they can get the ball over the top, which they do beautifully, and then it's an easy 2.
Meanwhile, Ed Horton has committed his 4th personal foul. As Iowa using both of their big men, Lojas and Horton, who stays in the game. It's 78-77 Iowa.
We could be playing this game through June, Nick.
UTEP goes back to the zone, Tommy. Keep in mind the Miners have only 1 timeout left. Marble in the baseline. And Iowa calls timeout. Hawkeyes have 2 left, and Tom Davis will discuss it with the Hawkeyes up by 1. And the tournament will really heat up this Thursday with a doubleheader regional semifinal. Most of you will see Notre Dame against North Carolina from East Rutherford. Some of you will see Georgetown against Kansas. John Thompson and Larry Brown. That's 6 o'clock Pacific time. And then our late night game, which will be on tape delay, Eastern and Pacific, will be the Eastern regional semifinal between Florida and Syracuse from East Rutherford, New Jersey. That's the action coming away Thursday. Tommy Davis called the timeout now. Iowa has the ball and 20 seconds on the shot clock in a 1-point lead.
Why not get it to the guy who can put some shake and bake moves on you? And who is that? Mr. Marble right there.
26 for Marble. Short on the jumper, but a big offensive rebound by Ed Horton, who's playing with 4 personal fouls, and Iowa has a new clock with a minute and a half to play.
You cannot allow a ball club to take a shot and on the miss get the rebound back.
UTEP has done a pretty good job of that this year, this game. Not giving up too many second shots. Inside Horton. Horton puts Iowa up by 3.
Big move, and blocker is down.
Slow getting up, Chris Blocker, shaken up for the moment.
We're going to see the great pass coming inside to Horton. He swings around, and then the shot is scored, and Blocker is hit by his own man. I believe it was Campbell.
Iowa did not pressure the inbounds passer that time, and Blocker brings it across, has to watch out from the defense behind. 1 minute to go, and 37 on the shot clock. Iowa in the zone.
They don't have to go for 3 right now.
Hardaway, short on the looping shot. Gamble for Iowa. A 3-point lead for the Hawkeyes, and now UTEP is under the gun. Armstrong, a good free throw shooter, but timeout is called for Iowa. 20 seconds, 32 seconds remaining in the game. And 30 seconds on the shot clock. Each team with 1 timeout remaining. And they're not really giving UTEP much of a cushion to get anything going if they run the clock out. McHale Center, the scene of a tremendous second-round battle between upset-minded UTEP and Iowa, the number 2 seed in the West region. A game in which 7 points has been the biggest margin, and UTEP with a 4-point lead at the half had a 69-62 lead with 8 minutes to go, but Iowa crept back, and now the Hawkeyes seemingly in command with the ball and 32 seconds left and a 3-point lead.
Well, they got to try for steal, and UTEP is perfectly capable of making steals. They're a crafty defensive ball club, but it's inbounded pretty easily.
And the foul on Blocker, but he fouled the wrong guy. If there's such a thing under this kind of pressure, Roy Marble will go to the line, and he's been nearly perfect from the free throw line all night. 31 seconds to go, and a chance to put Iowa up by 5. And that would make it real tough for UTEP.
Iowa has played a super basketball game in that they did not succumb to the fact that UTEP was able to beat that defense that they count so much on.
They did beat it, but Iowa is a real strong club, and they didn't fold. Now Marble, 9 for 10 from the line, will try to open it to 5. UTEP has 1 timeout remaining. In the game is Quentin Gates. UTEP. Now you can say, well, you got to go for the 3 now, but they still need to. They're going to send their guys back to defend against that.
Take the press off. That's the first time he's done it all night, and he should right now. He doesn't want them to foul.
You go for 2 or 3 now. Blocker answers the question. This is a 3, and the rebound by Kevin Gamble. And Blocker commits the foul, and Iowa can win it on the line here. Going sliding is Kevin Gamble. What an effort.
Going to see him go out and try and pick off the ball, and there's Gamble, safe at third. And if he gets up, he'll probably be able to go home.
Gamble will go to the line, where he is a 71% free throw shooter and 2 for 2 on the game. And UTEP has that look of, boy, we fought real hard, but fell short. That's the look they have now.
Well, they can't be too
This is the 1-1, no, and it's not over. Hardaway, Jeep Jackson for 3. Fight for the loose ball. And Booker Turner, I believe, is called a foul. And it'll be a foul against Iowa, I believe. And Ed Horton, who is now fouled out of the game.
Horton came up with some very big rebounds, Dick. Tom Davis said we've got to have, he's our crucial rebounder, and he certainly delivered those rebounds tonight.
3 points and 6 big rebounds for Ed Horton. He's replaced by Gary Wright. 9 seconds remaining, and Iowa in front by 5, which matches their biggest lead of the ball game. And Mike Richmond is on the line, 1-1. UTEP has 1 timeout remaining. And that's what Don Haskins has just checked over at the scorer's table. It's 42-38, UTEP at half. And Richmond now with 18 points, 16 in the second half. And the last timeout has been called by wily Don Haskins. And the last piece to the Sweet 16 puzzle, the winner of this game. And it'll be Iowa or UTEP playing Oklahoma at Seattle in the Western Regional Semifinal. All of the other berths have been filled going into the regional semifinals. UTEP has exhausted its last timeout with 9 seconds to go. 82-79 is the score. And Don Haskins has done a marvelous job. But let's credit Iowa and Tom Davis, because they only lost 4 games and showed why they were ranked #1 most of the year.
Both teams really fundamentally sound basketball teams. I was so impressed with both teams tonight.
Lojas will inbound with 9 seconds to go, and a lead pass to Gary Wright, and he seals the game, and a foul as well. And that's all she wrote. Dr. Jamalot, they call Gary Wright, and he got a chance to show why. 84-79, and Iowa will advance to the Western Regional Semifinals and play Oklahoma on Friday night. But a great performance, gutty performance by UTEP. They'll be disappointed, Tommy, but they got a lot to be proud of.
I'm going to send them a red tie, I'll tell you that. I think maybe I'll have Rodney Dangerfield send them a red tie, because they need to get something out of this UTEP ball club. A lot of respect they got from me.
Final second. Hardaway hits the 3 at the buzzer, and Tom Davis has won it. Iowa wins it 84-83. 84-82 is the final score after the 3-point shot.
Here's the last basket, a long takeoff. They had to deny the inbound ball, and Iowa up to the challenge, just had their man take off up the court, and he was wide open. And look at Tom Davis.
UTEP with a tremendous obstacle to Iowa, and Tom Davis knew it. He had to sweat it out all the way, and his reaction, he's going to Seattle in his first year at Iowa.